better with age has been the mindset.
So you mentioned evolve, and you deserve the credit for that. But how much has working with Adam Oates helped you evolve and change your career? Is
Well, I
that
mean,
the turning point?
yeah, 1,000%. I mean, I would never be back in the NHL if I didn't get the chance to work with them. I've told the story before, but sort of it just kind of happened in line with what was happening with my brother in 2019, I think it was, in the Blues, where they were last place in the league. Braden was struggling, hadn't scored in probably 15 or 16 games. And there was trade talk, I think, of him at the time. And the only guy that was really having a bunch of success up front was Ryan O'Reilly, and he was working with OT at the time. And so he passed it on to Braden saying, hey, well, he's helped me out a lot. Maybe you should give him a call. So Braden did, talk to OT, and kind of started getting hot and started scoring, and the Blues started winning, and the rest is history. What happened that year? But in terms of Braden would, after probably a week or so of working with him, OT said, told Braden, he goes, I never really go looking for clients or players. Typically they come to me, but I got to ask, like, what's going on with Luke? I used to coach against him, and he's in the minors now at, how old was I, 29 or whatever. What's happened? So Braden kind of passed on the message, and I gave him a call, and just by fluke, OT was doing a little bit of work at the time with the LA Kings. And so he was actually flying out to LA like a few days later, and I met him in LA just to kind of, have a beer with him and kind of pick his brain. And then I was like, hey, let's give this a try. And then a week later, I ended up getting traded to Vancouver, but the deal was I had to start in Utica. So I asked OT if he would come work with me in Utica. So he did, and came there for a few days, and I was with him on the ice for, probably a couple hours before the Utica Comets practice, and then after practice as well with OT. So just putting in some long shifts and just trying to understand sort of what he was teaching, and it started clicking a little bit and sort of telling me a lot of things that just for example, like, obviously being a bigger, heavier guy, everyone's kind of always on your skating and try to get you to work with different skating coaches or work on your edges or change your stride or, try to lose 10 pounds, like all that sort of stuff to get you a better skater. And he just basically, I got news for you. Like you are what you are in terms of skating. Like, why don't we get you thinking a little bit different? So every single shift of your life, you're not fighting for your life out there in a foot race. Like, you can think the game in different ways where you're maybe, reading the game a little bit better. So just all these different sort of things where he started teaching me. And then the biggest thing is, handling the puck. I got taught or told lots by coaches to not handle the puck. They would say, don't stick handle it, just get rid of it. But, you have to go back and make a play under pressure, on a breakout. You can't just throw it off the glass every single shift, or, it's a turnover a lot of the time if you don't make the correct play. So, just going back for pucks and trying to move the puck 5 to 10 feet and get in the forward's hands and finding different ways to do that. So, like I said, a long-winded answer, but if I would have never hired him, I can firmly say that I would have never been back in the NHL. I would not, have my name on the Stanley Cup, and I would still not be playing till this time. And that's why, like I said, you get better with age, but you're not necessarily, getting faster or whatever. You're thinking the game better, and you're working on, the little skills that you're able to kind of keep things simple out there and almost not get noticed a lot of times, which is a good thing as a defenseman.
So, would you have been open to that same type of conversation 500 games earlier in your career, or was it because you were in that spot in your career that's why you were open to doing?
I finally figured out the real difference between a Masato knife and the ordinary stuff. We've all seen those flashy knife ads showing they're sharp enough to cut through a plastic bottle, yet gentle enough to slide.
Doing something different.
I mean, no, I always had an open mind and trying to get better. I think it was just like doing the wrong things. Like, I mean, I would have like earlier on in my career with the Leafs or the Flyers, maybe a year didn't go the way I wanted it to, and I wasn't totally satisfied, and you could see things maybe not trending in the right direction, but the mindset was, I got to go, like a lot of young guys, I got to go back and I got to have a big year in the gym. I got to get stronger. I got to get faster in the gym. And you're doing a bunch of like track workouts and sprints and like with the right mindset and right.
You want to do the right thing, but
you want to do the right thing, but and then you get on the ice and you're working on things, but it's not like the right things, and that's what it is true. Like I mean, it's funny how hockey players, you look at other sports, like if a basketball player all off season, I'm sure they're you know working on their dribbling and shooting and everything else they need to do in basketball, like in the off season. They're not just spending time on the track and the gym, like they're handling the ball. Or a golfer, is working on his short game or his driving or whatever, putting all off season until they get back on tour. And for whatever reason, I think it's changed probably more so over the last few years with younger players. But like the mindset back in the day, I think a little bit was, go to the gym, get stronger, and then throw in your gear in August and get skating and get in shape. Where, and I would skate a little bit before that, not just saying in August, but there wasn't like the right intention. It was kind of like skating because I got to get in shape for training camp. But now I'm like Braden and I think a lot of guys are with Oats. You're on the ice a lot more this summer, and you're not bagging yourself and going crazy out there where it's not a bag skate or a battle practice or something like that. You're working on like the little details of the game all summer, and that's kind of what he told me is, at the end of the day, you're not going to be out of the league because you're losing battles and you're not strong enough. It's because of the plays with the puck is what's good. You're not going to be in the league. If you don't make the correct play under pressure with breakouts and get into the forward's hands and that sort of thing. So yeah, we're at their own ice now. We're just on the ice way more in the summer. So like I said, I mean, I always felt like I put in the work and that was never the issue. It was just no, not the correct way. And luckily, got the chance to work with Oatsy, and he's not doing anything that coaches don't want you to do in terms of your own team either. It's you play within the system. He's not trying to coach you in terms of that way. It's just you got to break the puck out. It's like, well, how do you do it, right? Or you got to angle a guy this way, or you got to use your stick this way. It's how do you do it? So yeah, it's just the little things. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I've had a lot of great coaches in the NHL, but as far as behind the scenes, it's been super helpful to have him.
Did he work with you on your actual stick at all? Your lie, your curve, any of that conversation?
Yeah, it's the first thing. It's the first thing. It's your tool. I mean,
your
that's
weapon.
Exactly. If you don't have the right,
What'd you change?
Yeah, the curve. I mean, obviously, it's like it is like the Adam Oates curve now. Like, you can get it in Warrior Bauer, like CC, like whatever stick you're using. I mean, there is a curve there that all his players are. I would say 9 out of 10 of his guys, and he's probably got, I don't know, 60 plus guys now, maybe 100 plus throughout the whole group now that
switched to his curve.
Well, and it's just.
And what were you using before?
I mean, like when I first started in the league, I was using a massive like heel curve, which like I don't think anyone in the league even uses anymore. And my stick was also probably a foot taller, and so like yeah, no wonder why you couldn't handle the puck. But at the time, like when I first got to the Kelowna Rockets, like I never used a curve like that in my life. But you go to the Kelowna Rockets, and this is back in 2005. Well, it was just kind of when guys were starting to get one-piece sticks, and they give you two options. Not every player, like in junior hours, where you get to pick your own curve, and Bauer comes in and says, here you go, pick whatever model you want, and the team gets them for you. It was two choices. And I started using the heel curve because I saw Shea Weber using it when I first got to Kelowna. And I saw the bomb he had, and obviously it worked for him. But yeah, it's just like different ways, and the reason why, OT has a certain curve is because you can make certain plays based on the curve and the lie on your backhand, in which you got to go to sometime. And, you got a little bit of a toe in there where you can sort of, make plays and have it sort of in there without it rolling off your stick.
So it's one thing for you to evolve and to change your game. But I find that in the NHL in particular, there are many front offices and or coaches that are pretty stubborn, and sometimes they think you are what you are.
Right.
How long do you think it took for you to convince, maybe not with anything obviously that you're saying, but for them to see on video or see in games that your game has evolved? When do you think something like that clicked?
Um, I mean, I'm still always trying to prove it. Like right now, I mean, like I'm not saying okay just because it's gotten a little bit better doesn't mean it's in the perfect spot. I'm still trying to figure it out right now and get better as we speak. But um, I don't know. Like even knowing that the teams that were in the mix even at the trade deadline, like I'm not gonna get into it, but I know what teams now. It's like all the teams that were looking. It's I had a connection with in terms of like the coaching staff, teams that have had me before, I guess. So it's like you maybe like I said, you see from an outsider perspective, and yeah, there's certainly flaws in my game, 1,000%. It doesn't look pretty maybe at all times on the naked eye or TV, but it just I guess if you have someone who kind of gives you a little bit of trust and gives you a chance, and sees that you're putting in the work and trying to do the right things, and um, yeah, like for me, like even in Winnipeg here, I mean, I had Dean Chanel in Toronto when I was there last time with the Leafs, and you know, I think we built a good relationship there. And then Davis Payne, who I had in LA when I was there, and Scott Arneal, who I've had as well, like World Championships, another lifetime ago. I think it was like 2010 or something like that. But just guys who I've been around before, and you show them, like I think everyone knows sort of the story where you're down and out a little bit, but like you said, you try to continue to work at your game and um, make the simple play, make the right play, and yet try to bring that physical element. I think is what I'm the most biased guy in the world, but you need it in the playoffs. So it's just try to bring that element while just being steady for him, and like I said, I don't know if there's a certain point in time where teams give you a second chance. I think you're always fighting for that opportunity and that chance, and I still am at my age.